Hello, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the live stream post show. Just aired the latest episode of Scam Economy. Scam Economy episode 51. 51 already. Amazing. We discussed WorldCoin with Leo Schwartz of Fortune. And if you didn't catch it, definitely go check it out because WorldCoin is certainly one of the more interesting projects, as the people who are coming to this live stream directly from the premiere of the episode can attest to after hearing about it. That is something else. And we'll stay on top of WorldCoin and all of its bio data, and cryptocurrency dealings, and how AI is, of course, going to make WorldCoin necessary, but also the guy behind the biggest AI platform is also the guy behind WorldCoin. It's a lot. We'll definitely be staying on top of WorldCoin. So the phone lines are open. You can Skype into this show. Just search Doomed Live, one word, Doomed Live, and I will take your call. I enjoy doing these live stream post shows after Scam Economy because I feel like we get a lot more calls, a lot more time for calls. It could go either way with how many calls we get, but we have a lot more time for calls because the stream just started and I just started taking calls right away. We've got about an hour and a half. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, most likely a little bit more. Oh, we already got our first calls coming in. Let's see who should I take? Let's take this one. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey Matt, it's Ram calling from
Hey,
Texas.
Rem, how you doing? Can I pull you up on the feed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. So, how you doing, Rem?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. What would you like to talk about?
Well, and this might hit too close to home, but this kind of is relevant to me in some sense. So I just heard about this Illuminati stuff, and I wanted to look into it because I thought it was just drama. I thought it was just drama too, but then I
I
heard
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Wonderstruck Guy. Yeah, I heard Wonderstruck Guy's video and his story, who an employee of Illuminati, and I had no idea that she was so popular. She almost has like 3 million followers or 2 million or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So she's got quite a bit of employees. So it is bad, and it's more than just drama. It's like worker abuse, similar to like Amazon kind of stuff, or just and also it's kind of relevant to what I went through recently. Um, Kind of living with someone, kind of working for them, and little did I know they were kind of playing me the whole time. And then, especially when I moved here to Texas, I thought I had another friend that I could trust and rely on, but they turned out to be more of like a left wing cult rather than actually, you know, fighting for a community or trying to build strong communities. Because to me, that's what a leftist is.
Right.
You should just go around and build strong communities. They help people, mutual aid, direct aid to people. To me, that's doing change, or just reporting, because that's good too. Because we do need reporters. So yeah, it was disturbing to listen to. And Wonderstruck Guy also has like a best friend that was living with Blair as well, and he was going through some horrific abuses. It's quite interesting. No one's buying her apology apparently, and I don't know any of these people, by the way. I
Right.
barely know Illuminati. I'm kind of like diving in with fresh ears, fresh eyes. So it's crazy stuff. I
Right.
didn't expect that. I didn't expect the story. This person is going through quite a bit of mental health crisis stuff. And I could tell they did not want to talk about any of this. And they kind of sat on this for a couple of years, honestly, in fear of retaliation, like legal retaliation, because he
Right.
was legally an employee and living there. And then he moved here to Texas, actually. So he's here in Austin, I think doing much better and healing, essentially. But yeah, I just hope people don't sweep this under the rug as YouTube drama, personality stuff. It's more than that.
Right. So I can tell you that Leftist Mafia will be addressing this on Thursday. So I don't want to
For sure,
jump the gun.
for sure. You don't have to. You don't have to.
But I know I will speak to what you said. I'm sorry that that happened to you.
Right.
Um, and
Thank you.
basically, from what I saw at first, I tend to stay out of these sort of YouTube issues. And the
Same
first
here.
videos and so I just assumed it was that, because that's what it seemed like, because it all
Right.
started with that Legal Eagle issue where
Yes. Yeah.
she
For sure.
had a discrepancy with them over something to do with how they edited their videos. The interesting thing about that is she actually brought that up to the rest of us in a chat earlier that day before she
Oh, okay.
decided to make it public. And I actually said in the chat, and the rest of the hosts can attest to this. I pretty much said, I think you're making a big deal out of what you're seeing, something that's not there.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
and so that went ahead, and at first I thought it was all about that, and then additional issues came
Right.
out, and I watched those first couple of videos, and I will say they lost me because they did talk, they were very long, and they did talk about drama stuff, like YouTube drama.
Right.
And so at first, I and the rest of us thought that that was all that was there, and that people were choosing that opportunity where she did something stupid with Legal Eagle to just air their grievances.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so we said you should, she decided to stay off the show for a couple weeks. We agreed, because what are we going to say? No, you must come on the show. I will
Well,
say,
right.
though,
For sure.
that there have been videos that came out in the past, week, where what you said has become clear, that it goes beyond personal YouTube drama. And I think the inclusion of that stuff muddied the waters, and I think people really need to separate the two things, because unfortunately, like, you can just look at the title of some of those videos. The
Right.
Illuminati drama explained. It was all like
Yeah.
clickbait YouTube-y stuff. And
Illuminati exposed.
yeah, that's YouTube drama. But
Right.
I've watched videos that don't clickbait it and actually address the serious
Yeah.
allegations.
There's a
And
few
and that's much different. And
for
that's
sure.
why,
Yeah.
we had a rare before Thursday meeting, all of us at Leftist Mafia, and we'll have an announcement on Thursday.
For sure.
It addresses everything, and I think everyone will understand it'll all. I don't want to jump the gun, but yeah,
You don't have to. Don't
I
worry
think you
about
could
it. Don't
all
worry about
tell
it.
where this is going. Okay, you all.
I just think
Yeah.
you should, and everyone should go over and watch Wonderstruck Guy. That's their YouTube. I don't know their name. Their name never really came up. So all I know them is as
Right.
Wonderstruck Guy, and you can go over and watch his video. It's called My Response to Illuminati Exposed, featuring Oz Media. It's a little long, and trigger warning if you've gone through similar things. It's pretty intense. Pretty cruel stuff.
And I want to stress too that,
It,
like, there is a this situation, for me at least, was hard to parse at first, because, like I said, it
right.
a lot of this is personal stuff, that then
Some of it,
spills
yeah.
over to the broader, problematic allegations. But I tend to stay out of personal beef and drama, because it's just not like someone in the Leftist Mafia comments last week mentioned how I can't believe you came at Anna Kasparian so hard for her transphobic tweets, but then you sort of glossed over the Illuminati stuff. And I don't think we did that. I think we were actually
No,
pretty hard
no,
on her for not even
I
knowing
just think
exactly
no
all the
one really knew.
stuff.
Like
Yes,
Olay and
but
stuff, no one really knew,
but
and that's understandable. No one's guilty by association here, by the way, from leftist mafia.
but the reason I bring up that specific Anna Kasparian tweet, that specific
Right,
comment someone made, is because the Anna Kasparian tweet is not a personal beef. I have no
no,
personal issue, and none of the leftist mafia people have no personal issue with Anna Kasparian, the person, as far as we know.
right,
Our issue was with a political statement she made, and really goes beyond that. A statement about people's lives, but it was still a broad
right,
statement. It's an issue. It was a statement on an issue. And you can debate that. You can discuss that. If Illuminati had said something like that, we wouldn't have told her to stay away. We would have had her come on, or we wouldn't have agreed that she should stay away for a couple of weeks. We would have told her, no, you come on the show and we will address it and we will get into that debate because people deserve to hear that.
right,
The reason Illuminati's issue was not the same is because it is issues that she has with people in her personal life. We cannot debate that. That's not a public issue. That's not a public policy issue. That's not politics. When it became clear that those personal issues went beyond that, that's when we decided, we had to have a meeting and discuss, and that just happened literally just days ago. After we had a couple days to watch the new videos, really understand the difference between the YouTube drama stuff and the allegations you mentioned. We will address it on Thursday, and I think everything will make sense to everybody.
for sure, for sure. And thank you for talking about it, Matt. I know it might have been a little weird or awkward, I suppose, but I mean, my heart goes out to Wonderstruck Guy. It just, a lot of it sounded so familiar, and I'm just like, this is really, really not good.
I will say that the dynamics to me are very weird because I have never put myself, and I'm not judging anybody. Obviously, you just told me, and I'm a big fan of you, Rem, so I'm not judging you. But I've never I'm unfamiliar with that sort of situation. I've never mixed and mingled my employment with friendship.
Right.
And so, and if an employee treated me that way, it would be very easy for me to make an issue about it. There would be no gray area, no confusion, no me sticking around.
Right.
So I am unaware of these sort of issues. So that's also why I think, you could say I dropped the ball on sort of seeing, where this was going until some of these more recent videos came out and just outright put the drama aside and got to the meat of the real issues.
Yeah, it's just wild how Blair was controlling every aspect of Wonderstruck Guy's life. It was absolutely insane. And I don't wish this upon anybody, and I want everyone to be very careful living with their boss or people you work with.
Don't do it. Don't get your. Don't do that. Don't be careful.
It
Just
can get
don't.
it,
You
it
don't
can
do
get
it.
sticky.
You don't do it.
It
You
can get
don't.
icky.
You do not do it. Do not put yourself in a relationship where you live with the person who employs you. Do not do it. Do
Sometimes
not do it.
sometimes people just don't have a choice.
Do not do
It's
it.
either facing homelessness.
I get
It's
it.
either
I get
facing
it.
homelessness
I get it. But
or like
when you do that is you immediately realize the situation if you can, and make it as
hmm
temporary as possible, and don't think just because it's working well right now that this is the way it's going to be. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
for sure. For sure, for sure. Yeah, well anyway, thank you, Matt. I'll let some others call in. Appreciate you taking my call.
No, and I appreciate you calling and bringing up, because I wanted to. It was good for me to address it to my audience too, and I wouldn't want to just
For sure.
I'm gonna say everything on Leftist Mafia, and I think it'll obviously, because
Right, right. No worries.
listen, I also think what she did is bad, and to me the biggest issue right now is that she hasn't properly addressed it. And I don't know if she's going to.
In
I
her
th- I
apology
think I
video,
think
it was a lot of like kind
I
of
hope she does.
throwing Wonderstruck Guy under the bus and several others. It really wasn't an apology video.
I will say this:
It was just
the unfortunate
saving
thing
her ass
is,
kind of video.
from what I've seen, it does sound bad, but it's not something that you can't come back from if you put in the work and are sincere about it. Like, this isn't like some
I,
yeah
right. I think the fame and popularity got to their head a little bit, in my opinion. So this might be very difficult for them to really drop, take off the mask and stop hiding and stop trying to blame others and just it's some covert narcissism going on, and
right.
it's
And
it's very creepy.
I will say, out of all, and we'll say this again on Leftist Mafia, out of all of the people who host that show, listen, when it comes to guests, it is without a doubt that, we're going to have guests on. And
Right.
who knows, down the line, something will come out about a guest. Guests or
Right.
guests. You don't do, but this is one of the co-hosts of the show. So this is obviously a more serious situation and more directly affects us. And this doesn't
For sure.
absolve, obviously, us, but out of all 6 of those hosts, including myself, well, I shouldn't include myself, out of the 5 other hosts on the show, and I think the rest of them feel the same way,
Right.
she was the one I was most unfamiliar with, because
Same
she
here.
came outside of that world. Like, we're all from this very specific hyper-political, leftist,
Right.
independent media space. From Olay to David Dole to Mike Figueredo to Lance of the Serfs and me. And I didn't know her, was unfamiliar with her content even. Didn't even know her content, honestly. And she was a friend of Lance's. And
Right.
so,
Right. I've seen that interview before.
yes. So I know
Yeah.
Lance has been getting a lot of shit, but Lance is the one who introduced us all, and she's, I thought she seemed very nice and her content was interesting.
I just think Lance right now is being careful. That's all I'm
Yeah.
really
I mean, I
saying. I'm
feel
not gonna be blaming Lance for
yeah. No,
anything.
I'm not saying blame Lance either. Because I think Lance
Right.
also,
Right.
it was blindsided. He
shocked.
also, yeah, like I can say this, like, I know Lance, Mike, David, and Ole fairly well because they've been in this space for a very long time. And
For
I
sure.
think you guys can say the same about me. I mean, you've all watched me. If you've been watching the majority part, you've been watching me for 12 years now. I think you have a good, I know there are people who are very good at hiding like a second life or who they really are. But I can tell you, you just have to believe me. What you see is what you get. There's no secret Matt Binder. I wish there was a secret, more talented Matt Binder who's
Oh
got
God.
riches and beyond your wildest imaginations. But no, what you see is what you get, unfortunately. And I can say the same pretty sure about Mike and David and Lance and Ole because I've watched them for a while now.
For sure. For sure.
Illuminati, I wasn't too familiar with, and I hope she comes out and addresses these issues more substantially and takes responsibility for the and I think it would help too
Right.
to separate the personal beefs and drama from the more serious allegations, because I don't think the pile-ons from the YouTube drama clickbait world were helpful. But there
For
are
sure.
under that stuff is some serious stuff that I hope she addresses, because I do think, people fuck up and,
Yeah, yeah, I think it's more than just a fuck up though. It's been like years of abuse apparently. That's the thing. That's what makes it so disturbing. I keep thinking like, oh, this just happened. Like, no, this was like years. And yeah, Wonderstruck Guy should definitely get a lawyer. Maybe Ole can help him.
maybe she should stay out of it. Probably for the best. But
or Legal Eagle, or Legal Eagle could help a Wonderstruck Guy possibly. Who knows? I'm just
right. No, I'm glad you
spitballing
brought
here.
it up. I'm trying to skirt around the announcement, but I think you all can sort of tell the way the wind is blowing here.
For sure, for
Because
sure.
I don't
No
want to
worries.
jump the gun. But
No,
yeah.
no, you're good. No worries.
Yep. All right, Rem. Thanks for the call, and
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
tune in on Thursday, and you'll get a more straightforward answer.
Yeah, will do.
All right. Have a
Take care,
great
man.
night.
You too.
All right. Let's go back to the phones. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Charlie from Washington again.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You can put me on the screen if you want to.
Can I hold on, let me just address one thing here.
Yeah, go.
Take it easy in the chat says, I think Matt is being coy. She was part of the show and finances. I can tell you that there are no leftist mafia finances. I wish there were. You guys see how we do these super chats where people basically give a super chat to their creator of choice and they just keep the money. Like if you give me a super chat, I just keep the super chat and read it on the Leftist Mafia stream. If you give me the super chat during the Leftist Mafia stream. Same for David and Mike.
Spends it on soda money.
Yes. There are no Leftist Mafia secret finances. There's no membership. There's no merch. It's just, honestly, at this point, it's just something we do for fun in hopes that it could one day grow into something bigger. Which, I guess it's good that any issues came up now so we can solve them before maybe it does blow up. So let's talk now. Hey, what's your no? Why am I gonna? I'm sorry. I was about to say, what's your name? Where are you calling from? We've already established that.
You're doing the script for a second there. I used to do that when I was working in food. Don't feel too bad.
All right, good. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, I was really fascinated by the guest because of the whole iris scanner, because I have a 2-year degree in IT networking and security, and I'm not like an expert or anything. Like you wouldn't want to hire me to run your department, but that whole thing fascinates me. It's kind of why I'm into scam economy so much. But before I do that, in the chat while we were waiting for you to come on the show and run it, we were talking to a lot of we were talking about like artwork and stuff, and I kind of wanted to show the chat. I doodled, as I was telling them I was gonna doodle while we were waiting. I'm working on a tattoo idea. It's a little Medusa hiding behind a shield.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
And then for Anne from the UK was talking about it, and this is the last big good project that I did. It's sort of me as a self-portrait, but as a Gorgon.
That's really good. You're talented. That looks really cool.
Well, thank you. I haven't been doing it as much since I left high school because you grow up and then you get a job and you get busy. But it's all started to come back since I started HRT. And the Gorgon thing is I came out of my room when I was living with my old roommates, and my asshole roommate pointed me out to his baby mom and said, "See Demogorgon," and I hadn't and still haven't actually seen Stranger Things, so I thought he said Demigorgon. I'm like, what, like a male Gorgon? 'Cause that'd be kind of cool. And then later I found out I was trans and grew out my hair and it was so damn curly. And I'm like, this is a cool motif. So that's just a thing that I've done. I used to draw dragons a lot. But I wish
I had. That's a skill I do not have, nor have I ever been close to having. I can't draw for the life of me. I'm not good. I'm not good at the fine arts. It's a skill I could not master, nor did I ever have the patience to try to master it. Can't paint, can't draw, can't sketch, can't color, nothing like that. I'm more of a.
Come on now, we've heard one of your songs. We know that you're a fine artist in some form or another. The music.
Oh yeah, right. Well, that's not really that's not really a fine art, right? Music and
funk is a
and
fine
film.
art.
It is.
I thought it was a great song. Honestly, if I had heard that back in high school, I totally would have put that on my playlist. To be fair, but
Oh, thank you. Well,
but
I'm gonna get back into that, so I'll drop some more music soon.
we
Yeah.
need more music. We need more people who play guitar because guitars are awesome. But yeah, no, I find if you're gonna like go for art, don't think about like good or bad.
Direct live in the chat goes, let me tell you about AI, Matt. Right? Yeah, I bet I would be a great AI artist.
You could probably get some fun album covers out of AI.
Listen, you know, if you want to use of that to mess around with and have fun, I think that's fine. But I wouldn't call yourself an artist. I don't think there's such thing as an AI. Like, I don't think anyone. I think if someone told me they were an AI artist, I couldn't take them seriously.
I think it would depend on how you use it and how honest about it you are. But as far as like learning how to draw and stuff like that goes, because I always run into people who are so much better than me. Eventually, I had to tell myself, you do it. Don't think about good or bad. Just think about like what can you do. Like if you're trying to learn how to sing, don't try to sing like this guy or that guy. Try to sing like you. You know what I mean?
Right. But I mean, that's still your voice. It's not
exactly.
a computer.
You gotta focus on like just being better than you were the last time you tried.
And I will say, if you use AI as to enhance your already original artwork in some way, I think that's fair. But I also wouldn't call yourself an AI artist. You're an artist. You're just using
like AI to create a trippy background and then drew something on that.
Oh yeah, I think that's fine to use.
Yeah, that'd be workable.
I mean, I think that's the equivalent of like people who use like who use like magazines in their art, like or people who actually there's a whole style where people will buy paintings from like thrift stores or Goodwill or garage sales, and then like use that painting as the background for their own work or something. Like they use it. That's cool stuff. I've seen that.
I saw a really cool YouTube video where he took a whole bunch of things that he bought from a garage sale, and then he took this painting of a dock and then he put a Kraken in it for no reason, just silly stuff. But he did a pretty good job. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's art, but I wouldn't, if someone was doing that with like, AI, I wouldn't call myself an AI artist if you're still drawing and stuff like that. You're just using a tool. Like you wouldn't call yourself like if you're an illustrator and you use Adobe Illustrator, you just call yourself, an artist or a comic book artist or you draw. You wouldn't say you're an Adobe Illustrator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if you're a graphic designer, you don't say you're a Photoshopper. You know what I mean? You're a graphic designer.
Or
Photoshop is just a tool you use.
I actually saw this TikTok of a guy who performed a song that was written by AI. It was a country pop song about hemorrhoids, and he did a really good job performing it. So there's an art in that of it itself. But I think the whole iris scanning thing was really interesting. And like I said, is my degrees in IT networking security. IT security is a great class if you love to be horrified by how vulnerable everything is, which I do. Like, I like heist movies and spy movies because I like to see how they do all of that kind of stuff and all the clever ways that they break shit. And I'm just, the whole time you're talking to him, I'm like, I can't wait to see how somebody figures out how to crack that. Because somebody will. You tell the internet that you can't crack it, somebody will crack it. And it kind of reminds me of... I don't remember exactly fully how the whole story went, but like the story of the first computer virus, it was so bad because nobody was expecting it. And it reminded me of your conversation with Doug, because he kept talking about how like the feds are trolling through Twitter and all of that stuff. And
right.
The misconception that he has, which is a public service announcement that I actually
I mean, I will say I'm sure they are, like, without a doubt. They're they're just using it like we do.
That's the thing. There's a common misconception that a lot of people notice, and I noticed during his conversation with you, he was making the same mistake too, that you assume that your computer use is completely private because usually you're in your house, or even when you're on the bus, you're on your phone, you got your headphones on. You think there's a lot more privacy than there actually is. is actually one of the reasons, because when you go through IT and they use the internet superhighway and cars and all of that kind of stuff as a constant metaphor to describe how things are going. And I always thought it was a really bad metaphor. What you really want to do is treat the internet like it's a sidewalk. Because think of it this way. If you have to go down a dark alleyway to get back to your home, and you know it's one of them dark alleyways where Jason Voorhees waiting to jump you, would you rather walk down that alleyway or drive down that alleyway? Which one do you think would be safer? You know, if you wouldn't do it on a sidewalk, don't do it on the internet. And it's a lot of every time there's a new technology, everybody's thinking about how cool it is. They don't think about how badly it can go sideways.
Right. I do think a lot of it is people just don't understand the internet and specifically social media. You know, it was very bizarre to hear someone portray anything that they were, that they were laying out in that discussion as a First Amendment issue. I just can't get over that.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, the misinformation is protected speech that he kept going back to.
It is, sure, but
well, yeah,
but a platform doesn't need to abide by that.
You know, it'd be like
if I ran a platform and I chose not to have that on my platform, that's my free speech right to not want to my platform being used to spread that.
It goes back to the sidewalk metaphor. Like, if you're on the sidewalk and you are pointing out that guy over there is a bank robber, help, you know, and it turns out he's not a bank robber, do we want that? No, we don't. You know, if you know, the misinformation thing really irked me, because there's a lot of misinformation going on about like trans people and Black Lives Matter and CRT, and that's gone so out of control, and we've seen how much damage that does, and he's more worried about that, which is why I actually sent you the super chat asking where he was going with this, like what is the misinformation he's worried about. And it was such a letdown to see that it was Hunter Biden's dick pics.
I mean, he didn't even know it was. He didn't even know it was
It was the laptop thing, right. You know, and that's why you know, sure, maybe you leave it up, but you have the correction. Hey, we can't the fact checking thing.
Right. I also think there's confusion over the belief that the Biden campaign asked for that New York Post link to be taken down. And as far as I've ever been seen, and they had opportunity to lay out in the Twitter files too, that was never the case. That was Twitter's decision to take it down. And they owed up to it being the wrong decision, which it absolutely was. And I said that at the time. You know, you can choose to not want some wild conspiracy theories on your platform, but you are, again, you still have the right to do it, but I do think you're getting into murky territory if you just start removing links to news organizations outright. You know, I again, they're in the right to do it, but I think that caused more issues for them than if they didn't do that. The laptop issue, probably wouldn't have been as big of an issue if Twitter didn't do that, to be quite frank.
But at the same time, we should have our right to freedom of speech to say, hey, this is misinformation. It's not wrong. This is the real information, or this is proving it. We as a society should have the ability to get rid of bad ideas or counter them with,
right.
No,
absolutely.
That also should be protected free speech. And I don't know. It's just the way he came off with it. It really bothered me. But
right. I think I sort of forgot about that one pretty quickly because I had a more bizarre encounter, in my opinion, just days later.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring that one up because you don't want them to jump in the chat and start trolling for more content or what have you. You know, that's
right. I frankly don't think I need to address him again at least in the near future, because there's no reason to.
Yeah, definitely have that guy back on, because it is a very like I said, it was a very interesting.
Oh yeah,
because I'm a nerd. But
Doug and I got heated. Oh wait, you're talking about that one? The Doug?
no, the guy you just had for Scam Economy.
Oh, Leo Schwartz. Yeah, no, Leo was great. Yeah, no, he's great. He's been on the show before too. This might be his third or maybe even fourth. I think third though. His third appearance. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, have him back on as a follow up for that whole thing, because that's just really, like I said, I'm just that's my IT security brand. I really should go back and get a 4-year degree. They were writing the bachelor's program like right as I was finishing up there, so I don't have the money to do it.
You should look into WorldCoin yourself and see if there's anything sticks out to you that you want to bring to my attention.
Well, I mean, like look into the whole thing maybe as just like a personal interest, sure, but I don't want to participate in that.
Oh no! I'm not saying to participate in it. I'm just saying, yeah, exactly that. Just
you can't have my eyes; they're mine.
Right.
Very pretty. I like them.
Yeah, I think. I wouldn't. I'd probably do it just to experience it, so I could write about it. Because I'm a masochist like that. But yeah,
I'm coming from the IT security that I did for my college classes perspective on that. Like, give as little as you can or they'll crack you. Like, you'd be surprised how much of breaking into somebody's, like, when you lock your phone with a pattern. I have this theory that if I give somebody like something greasy on their fingers, like a Dorito or something, and then have them lock their phone, open it up like they're going to check a thing, and then lock it again, I could probably use the brushstroke of their finger to find out what that pattern is. I want to try that as like a party trick one of these days. But like, even like the fingerprint thing. One of my teachers, she was very brilliant teacher. She actually managed to crack iPhone's fingerprint thing by taking an extremely high resolution. She wouldn't say how high resolution for obvious reasons, because she's actually got like security clearance and stuff. Like, I can't do that because I smoke pot. But she was able to crack somebody's phone by like fucking super spy shit. She's fucking genius. So, but yeah, that's all I really wanted to say is like that. Definitely come back for more, because I am all too eager to be horrified by how they can go wrong.
Sounds good. No, I'm glad you liked the episode. We'll definitely be coming back to WorldCoin. It is very unique, as in I haven't seen anything that combines biometric data with
I think you call that biometric.
And then with cryptocurrency, all in an effort to stop the incoming AI menace, which will be created by the guy who's backing WorldCoin. That's the part that I can't get over. WorldCoin needs to scan our eyeballs, because we'll need to one day tell the difference between real people and machine. And also, by the way, the guy who is the face of the biggest company in the AI space right now just also happens to be the guy who's creating backing WorldCoin. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Thanks for the call, though. Always. Oh wait, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just remember, nothing is ever 100% safe. If you can access it, somebody else can access it. That's the one takeaway everybody should have from IT security. But anyway, have a good night, bud.
You too. Take care. Great call. Always great calls. Let's go back to the phones. Let's see. Boop, bloop, bloop. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Matt. My name's Jason. I'm calling from Perth, Australia.
Hey, Jason, all the way from Australia.
How's
your afternoon going?
No, I'm in Perth, so it's still morning.
Oh, really? I got
10:38.
I'm
on the west coast.
Oh, okay.
So very far away.
I
Yep.
gotta
Don't mind.
get more familiar with where my Australian cities are, because I'm just assuming everyone who calls into this show from Australia at night is having lunch.
Yeah, yeah. No, still morning for me. Just wanted to quickly give you a call. I Fortunately I've blacked most of it out due to post-traumatic stress. But your conversation with Ben Empanada the other day.
Oh yeah, it was something.
Oh, yeah. One thing I just wanted to mention was he briefly brought up a thing that's going on over here about our Indigenous voice to Parliament.
Oh, I
So we're having
heard.
a referendum.
He
Yeah.
brought that up on his like post breakdown, so I didn't hear what he said.
Well, basically, what he said was full of shit.
Really?
He's surprising, yes. Wow. So basically, we're just having a referendum for our to allow our Indigenous people to have like an extra voice, because they are underrepresented in politics. So it's just basically a council to give the opinion and views of our Indigenous community. It's not malicious. It's not some evil plan that's going to destroy our government, as he mentioned. It's
Are the
pretty much strength.
are the Indigenous people in Australia behind this? They're for it.
Yes, absolutely.
Then it
Yeah.
seems like a pretty easy answer for me. You know what I mean?
I know. I just didn't want anyone to hear him and actually think it was anything like reality. Yeah, it'll be a great thing. It's more of a ceremonial thing. Is it perfect? No, but it's a step in reconciliation. So yeah.
Right. He said he was not for it. Right. What was his reasoning, that it didn't go far
Correct.
enough or something?
Yeah, probably. And then he was saying that there's debate over whether it will cause a constitutional crisis. The debate seems to be coming from right-wing old white men, but strangely enough. And then he was also saying it was something from our Liberal government. Liberals are sort of right-wing, our Republicans, so to speak, and Labor's our left, like Democrats. Yeah, he was saying it was all an evil scheme by them, basically. But yeah, it's not.
You and he also did. He found the tweet of mine from December where I pointed out that the Hunter Biden the Twitter files from Matt Taibbi was about Hunter Biden's dick, and he was very upset. I was calling that out. He is pro Hunter Biden's cock being shown on Twitter.
Well, look, I've heard it's a nice one. I haven't seen it myself, but yeah, there are some consent issues there. So yeah, it was. I feel so sorry for you. You have the patience for saints. Well done. I could.
I usually enjoy those. Even if something comes out of it, and I did think something came out of that one. Even I think, based on people's reactions, something definitely came out of that one. Maybe not what people thought would come out of it, but something definitely came out of it. So I always am open to talking to people. Like like I said, I've talked to right wingers before, and I'm open. But for me, my thing that turns me off of ever really interacting with him again is just that he just wasn't addressing me. Do you know what I mean? Like, he was addressing a non-existent me. So there's really no point to it. Like, how do you discuss someone who won't even engage with what you're saying?
Could you imagine him and Jackson Hinkle having a debate?
I don't recall Jackson Hinkle's. I know he did with Sam, but I don't remember it. Maybe I gotta have a.
If he did, it'd be great, because they're both using the same tactics, like against each other. That would be kind of humorous to watch.
Right. Like, I go on a right wing show and I say something and they disagree with what I say, but they address what I say. You know what I mean? Like, and so I'm able to actually provide a rebuttal and go back and forth with them.
There's so many straw men. My allergies started playing up.
Yeah, and I know people employ use straw men in their debates and arguments for specific issues, but it was I as in totality was a straw man in that like it wasn't like deploying a straw man for a specific point or issue. It was I was a straw man that he was yelling at.
Yes.
And so there's not much I could do there.
No. But thank you for your work. Love your work. Keep it going. And appreciate you. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
See you later. Bye.
Bye. But you know me, I'm a sucker. If he reached out months down the road with something else he wanted to talk with me about, I'd probably say, okay, let's do it. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey Matt, it's Adam from San Diego again.
Hey Adam, how you doing? What's you have to talk about?
Well, I called you after that 2 weeks ago after your talk with Mr. Misspelled Empanada, and I had what I talked to you about at that time was just that my thoughts on the bad faith interaction, but actually in the time since we spoke, I considered the actual topic at hand that you were discussing there, which is why would a American Latino person become a Nazi, which is the real thing that was the real supposed to be the discussion of that call, right?
Right.
And the thing I realized I neglected to mention when we talked is that I live in California. I don't know how things are in New York, but in the carceral system in California, as far as I'm led to understand, I've never been incarcerated, but as far as I'm led to understand, when racial tensions pop off in California prisons, the Latinos are de facto on the side of white supremacists against black people in the California carceral system. I had met when I was in my 20s and was, more easygoing about who was around me at times. I had met, guys who, young Latino guys, young Mexican guys who got in prison for something stupid and clearly weren't really educated guys, but they're out and we're hanging out. And I noticed their tats, their ink, and it'll be like, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, stuff you'd expect, and then Hitler, right? And I remember saying to one guy, I'm like, bro, why you got a Hitler tattoo? And he's like, oh, the guys in prison just told me it was awesome. And I'm like, do you know who that guy is? He said, no. And I'm like, well, that guy would kill you. That guy would have you executed, and you have him tattooed on your body, don't you? And he's like, oh shit, no way, man. Oh shit, no way, man. And now I'm not suggesting that there's that level of ignorance throughout any specific ethnic community at all, but I am suggesting that there are elements of our system that can lead to these outcomes that are very real and very American. You follow me?
Yeah, I mean, I think prison politics, I guess you can call it, is very. Again, I also not speaking from experience, but from watching the HBO hit Oz, I can tell you that it's very, very complicated in prison. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, being that especially that, Latino or Hispanic isn't a race. Really, it's, you could be Caucasian and be of Hispanic background. So it's
or Jewish for that matter.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So it's definitely complicated. But my point, not to rehash the whole thing, but my point was just to focus on a historical instance. It wasn't to say, this is, a prevalent issue today or single out any specific country, regardless of how many times that was said to me that that's what I was saying, because it wasn't. My point was just to show that this isn't a new phenomena. The guy with the Nazi tattoos of Latino Hispanic background is not surprising in the year 2023, because you can find instances of Nazi sympathy in Latino, majority Latino Hispanic countries going back almost 100 years. Probably, I mean, really before that. But I stuck with World War II because specifically the guy had a swastika tattoo. So I stuck with the Nazi. I mean, if you think about it, really, like friggin', the
Pretty specific, yeah.
Spain,
He also
Spain,
he had
Spain,
the
Spain,
SS
the,
tattoo also, which
just
is,
the fact that they're Hispanic, as in origins being from Spain. I mean, Spain is in Europe. They're white.
yeah.
I mean,
sure.
I know people of Spanish origin, like from Spain, and I also have friends who are, indigenous of Ecuador and Peru, and they do not look like my friend from Spain, and my friend from Spain does not look like them at all. They look very different because there is very different backgrounds there.
Sure.
It'd be like, telling a Native American here in North America, in the States, that, they're the equivalent to me or you, or I don't know if you're Native, but someone of European descent, Italian, Irish, whatever. People have different backgrounds.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not trying to honey trap you into rehashing your argument.
Oh no, I didn't think so. No, I think you were just no, not at all.
It just occurred to me that when we spoke, after we hung up, it occurred to me that I hadn't actually addressed any nuance of what you were supposed to be talking about with that. Let's call him a gentleman, and this is one example. The question of, well, how does a Mexican person in the United States get radicalized? It occurred to me, albeit anecdotal, that I recalled that I had this personal experience
Right.
with a Mexican person wearing Hitler SS tattoos, and not even, I mean, clearly this shooter in this situation understood what his tattoos meant. But how do Latinos get radicalized? Well, it's clear that there's more than one avenue, and that some of them understand their radicalization better than others, I guess, was the observation I called to share.
Right. No, thanks for sharing. I mean, it's a very specific experience, but it just goes to show that things are, not so simple anywhere. People can easily fall down these rabbit holes into fascist, bigoted beliefs, regardless of their background. There was a situation just last night where someone of what I believe is Indian background, they were born in the United States, I believe, or at least they went to school here.
The truck driver.
Yeah, they rammed their truck into the White House gates, and the cops pulled a Nazi, a swastika, a Nazi flag out of the truck. The guy brought that, and he, in subsequent reporting in their interview of him, he said he wanted to kill the president, and he was trying to get inside the White House,
He stated that he believed that if he could get inside, he would de facto take over.
And he would take over.
House.
And then
clearly indicates this guy's not right.
Yes, but what I'm saying here is that obviously, yes, this person is something going on there. This isn't the quintessential sort of white supremacist attack that we're used to seeing or hearing about. Thankfully, though, because otherwise there probably would have been, it would have been a lot worse. But I think it's eye-opening just to see how people fall down these rabbit holes for various issues. In this case, it was mental illness, it seems. But this is a guy who said he looked up to Hitler and idolized the Nazis. I mean, all these people who carry out attacks, even the ones who plan it out and seem like they have, full, and I believe they do, but they seem like they have full autonomy over what they're doing, and they're very aware of what they're doing. Like, obviously, in many cases, they are. But in some way, to go through with these acts, something is off. Like, these people are all suffering from some sort of illness in one way or another. Like, no normal person can just so easily take the life of others the way that these people do. And I think, fascist beliefs use those people to carry out these things, knowing that their ideology appeals to people looking for some sort of, mechanism or out or, scapegoat in some instances. It's different for everyone in terms of why they are attracted to this sort of ideology.
Well, I mean, it's worth noting the CDC just within the last month issued a statement that loneliness and isolation has now become a health epidemic in this country. And, people like ourselves, I mean, look, we're all here online. Everybody's probably a little lonely. Let's be real. But like some of us are choosing to channel that energy into having constructive conversation about what would make the world more sustainable, what would make us more connected and things like that. And other people are going to channel that loneliness into watching the world burn. And so it's not new that in all of human history, it's not new that some people are going to choose a path of curiosity and a path of reconciliation while others are going to choose a path of violence, right?
Right. I mean, yeah, I think, yes. And, like I said, they prey on people who, because listen, there are true believers of this ideology who are clear-headed and know what they want, but they're not carrying out the violent acts because they're aware of what that means for them. You know what I mean? Like, they need to find people who have this aspect about them where they can carry these acts out, and they prey on them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's clearly for every one person who carries out those acts, there's untold numbers of people who share those beliefs and will not act violently on them. So there's clearly another factor at play.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Right, there are people who, they're the people who carry them out, because I really do think that everyone who carries out these sort of violent acts has something wrong in some way with them. Because again, like I said, most normal people could not do these things and feel okay about it like the way they do. There is something off, some sort of, I'm not a doctor, but I think it's clear that to carry out something like that, whether you be a school shooter or a mass shooter or someone who carries out these violent acts, you need to, there's certain aspects of, there's certain aspects of your personality that's to match up with that type of person, and that's not normal. Do you know what I mean?
I do. It's just I'm far from normal. I have my share of mental illness, and I chose to take that energy.
No.
and
I'm
put
not
it
saying.
into.
Oh, don't
No, I
get me.
don't.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that.
I don't
Yeah.
get you wrong. I'm just saying, like, I've chosen to put that energy. I've never been a violent person, but there are people like equally in the same state as me who choose, like I have, to put that energy into being a leftist and into analyzing what's correct. Those people may still be violent people. Those people may still manifest their leftist values in violent ways. Like it's not concomitant to the path you choose, whether you choose violence
Oh
or
no,
not.
right,
That's a
right.
separate choice.
Right. So it's basically all of these things have to line up. Like they prey upon someone who is that type of person. And that person has to also be open to these sorts of ideologies. There are plenty of people who suffer from all sorts of different mental illnesses. The vast majority of people, because a good portion of our of the general world population suffers from some sort of mental illness at one way or another, and they do not line up with that. But they find this person who is open to the ideology, some of them truly believe in the ideology and aren't just, I guess you call them patsies or whatever. And just basically all these things come together for this horrendous act to be carried out. Well,
I mean, it sounds to me, are you suggesting that there is some additional level of bad actor that is looking to prey upon the mentally unstable and get them to act this way?
Oh,
and if so,
white supremacy does that de facto.
It does.
You're not gonna get what they want if there's not some form of violence against people. They could pretend they don't want it all they want, but that's what they want. You have
I understand. It's insidious ideology, and they can only succeed through violence. But how are they I mean, do you think they have some specific vehicle of radicalization, or you think it's just 4chan and Reddit and all this other stuff?
It's. I mean, I think there is some sort of well plotted fascist squad looking for people who will carry these acts out. Not in that way, like in some sort of cinematic way, but they know exactly who to prey upon in terms of building out the members of their various groups who subscribe to their ideology. Like we see it every day. They prey upon lonely, mostly white young men who are looking for some sort of scapegoat for why their life is shit, why they're not having success in their love life, in their career, in their work life, in their personal life, some sort of issues at home. Are these all of those people? No, but that's their perfect sort of person to work over, because that's who's gonna be most susceptible to sort of this brainwashing of black people are to blame for your problems, women are to blame for your problems, immigrants are to blame for your problems. I mean, this is how they've built their rank and file for generations.
Yeah, and I suppose to that point, like for their actual agenda, it's better for them if the people who carry out these acts of violence are members of minorities and not white people, because they can then just disenfranchise those people and go, oh, that wasn't one of us. That was one of them brown people.
Right,
that was one of them Asian people.
I mean, this has happened for a long time too. I mean, there were Jewish Nazis. Just the facts. And you better believe they love that whole idea that they're, back then even. So now it's the same sort of, dynamic. It's a perfect way to shield. I mean, you could see, like, I feel almost silly, like trying to bring up like, examples from like the outside world when you could just see this happen online in real time, where people are literally fighting back against the fact that the shooter in Texas, the person of Mexican American background, that he had Nazi tattoos. They are literally fighting back that instead of just saying, I abhor that, that's disgusting, they are getting defensive about it and trying to use this guy's race, nationality, ethnicity, his skin color to say he can't be one of them. I mean, nothing is clearer than that to me.
How convenient.
Right.
Exactly.
Like the easiest thing in the world would then for them to, and the way to most wash your hands from having any sort of degree of connection to it would to simply say, oh my God, he had swastika tattoos, he had SS tattoos, disgusting ideology, gross. But no, they're not doing that. They're looking at his tattoos as an affront on them. And so they're then using his skin color and his ethnicity to say he can't be that. Why would you care? Why would you care? Why would you care? Unless
they did your dirty work.
Right.
Why you denouncing them now? Like why don't you just? I mean, I guess that's the whole shell game, right?
Right. Right. I mean, it's very simple. Like like, especially if you consider, like, of course, it is the United States of America, 2023. The population, the demographics look a lot different. Of course, white supremacists and Nazis and fascists and bigots are going to update their strategy and how they grow their ranks. And if they find that having Latinos and black people and other minority groups as a part of their ranks helps give cover to their ideology and in turn help spread it, of course they're going to be fine with using that, because it's the end game that matters. They're happy to.
It's not that different than the Republicans using Clarence Thomas to further white supremacy.
Right. But great call. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you again for your time. Keep fighting the good fight. I'll keep watching. Have a good one, Matt.
Take care. Have a great night. Let's go back to the phones. Let's see. Oh, just lost them. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Okay, hold on. Let me close the stream.
Sure.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yep.
Matt.
Yep.
Okay, wait. Okay, you can hear me.
Yep.
Matt.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
Hey, so I'm calling oh, sorry.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, this is Brett from Portland.
Hey, Brett. So what would you like to talk about?
Yeah, so I had a few questions for you.
Sure.
And a few personal questions, actually. So,
ooh,
I was wondering where you live. What city?
Oh, I live in New York.
Oh, okay. Do you own a car?
I do. Well,
okay.
It's currently.
It's
currently broken down. I've not had a car for a couple of weeks now, but I do.
Okay. I think that cars should be banned in urban areas, and I think that you are a piece of shit if you own one in an urban area, because you're harming your neighbors who don't own cars for the most part. And I'm sorry, I'm nervous, but yeah, go ahead.
That's okay.
And I don't mean to call you personally a piece of shit, but I think it's a shitty thing to do. And
sure.
I live in Portland. I live in a highly urbanized area, and I don't need a car. I can use the public transit. And everyone who does own a car is a fucking asshole in a fucking luxury SUV who will not even let you fucking cross the fucking road. And it's fucking ridiculous. So please.
Well,
yeah.
No, I listen. I share your feelings somewhat. I will say, I don't live in Manhattan. I live in the outer
Okay.
boroughs where it's not as connected. I don't,
Do you live in Queens?
I live in Queens, yes.
Okay, well, I don't think you need a car there. And I think it's more of a pain in the ass to have a car. I think it's more of like a status symbol thing. You just want to be able to get your TGI Fridays whenever you want it because you're a fucking fat American. You want to have that on demand.
Well,
You know what
I don't go to I'm actually quite
Not
scared.
you, no,
but
not you personally, but
I know.
you know what I'm saying.
I
That's
mean,
the majority of car owners.
I think, I always, I think driving is a responsibility. And I, without a doubt, agree with you that there are places in this country where you don't need a car. If I lived in Manhattan, it would be very simple. I would not have a car. If I lived in certain areas of Brooklyn or even certain areas of Queens, it'd be very simple to not have a car. I live in an area where it's the end of the subway line, and to get there is, it's not like I'm right there.
Okay, well, I think you could make it work though.
Yeah, sure. I also have 2 kids, and I do think it makes life a lot harder to lug 2 small children around on buses. Again, people do it, sure, without a doubt, without a doubt, people do it. We still use public transportation. I don't drive into Manhattan when I can take the subway. I don't, I take the public transportation when it makes sense, but if I need to get out into Long Island for various reasons, visit family or whatever, there's no public transportation really to get you there.
Okay. Okay.
I also think driving is a responsibility, and there are a lot of people who don't look at it that way. I always give pedestrians the right of way. Not only is that because it's the law, which a lot of drivers do not seem to believe, but it is the right thing to do. You are driving a large vehicle that can be used as a weapon. You hit someone, you very likely you kill them. And I don't think enough people drive with that realization. And I also always give bikes the right of way, again, not only because it's the law, which a lot of drivers don't seem to realize, but because it's the right thing to do. I think I agree with how you feel, because most drivers in this country do not drive with the realization of what a big responsibility it is.
And so to me, this seems like a massive blind spot on the left, because you look at all other developed nations and they actually have half decent public transit. And if you look at like Latin America or Asia, East Asia, they have fucking like a great public transit. You don't need to own a car there. And our outcomes in terms of our traffic deaths are fucking abysmal. Like we have 40,000 deaths a year.
Right.
Me personally, my brother just died last year in a traffic accident, which is why this is
sorry to hear
quite
that.
personal.
No, I could imagine. Don't worry. I could totally understand. Listen, I think the problem is that it's hard to tell people in the United States of America that we shouldn't be driving when the country isn't set up. Like, this country was built around people having cars. Like, highways, the way, like, it's set up that way. I would love for there to be, I'm all for, we should be building out our rail. Trains should be so important this is like, when I think of like, people, the right wingers left to go like, 1776, the American Revolution, the 3-corner hat. No, when I think of like America, I think of like the railroads and how we used to like how that used to be the thing. Like, that's what I think of, like, real old school America. That's my old school America. And we dropped the ball there. I think if we actually built out the infrastructure in this country to better support mass transit, public transit, I think this conversation would be a lot easier to win people over with. But until we get there, I think it's going to be a losing battle outside of major metropolitan areas. I do think most, at least in New York City, like in Manhattan, everyone agrees, even people who live in Manhattan, that you don't need a car there. Like, again, if I lived in Manhattan, there'd be no need.
Yeah, well, so even in Manhattan, I do a lot of lurking on the NYC bike Reddit, and they're constantly complaining about the shitty fucking, like, the Department of Transportation doesn't really give a fuck out there for pedestrians or bikes, even though it's New York City, which is supposedly the best of the best that we have out here. It's certainly no Amsterdam. So we have a long way to go.
Oh no, without a doubt, bicyclists, cyclists get a lot of shit from cars here, and the NYPD, not surprisingly, gives a lot of leeway to drivers. And the funny thing is, as someone who walks around a lot, I've also noticed that like the feeling that cyclists receive from car drivers, they also then like transfer to pedestrians. Like I've come across cyclists almost crash into people, and then they act like the pedestrians in the wrong. And it's like, dude, you have the weapon, and you're not driving a car, but as the it's like
with the electric scooters. Those
right,
cause another issue.
Right, it's like
who knows where those go.
It's like the animal kingdom. Like yes, car can prey upon cyclists, but cyclists can also really hurt pedestrian. Right. So like everyone needs to keep in mind their level of responsibility when using a mode of transportation. I think to get where we want, we're not going to get there without the infrastructure being built out.
Yeah, so I'm not sure we'll actually have a choice, because I don't think electric cars are essentially a scam. I think they're cool gadgets, but they're not like a scalable solution for all of us. And I think like what the fuck is going to be our solution in in 50, 100 years? What are we going to? Again, it's going to have to be mass transit. Like, we're kidding ourselves. It's going to be anything else, because we're already reaching the limit.
Well, to me, the most obvious thing, and I know it's a little bit different elsewhere. Like in China, they're actually doing this. But to me, the biggest tell that electric cars are just a bullshit scam is that if this was actually the way to deal with the oncoming, not even oncoming, the current climate catastrophe, we would be mass producing the most affordable electric cars available, so everyone would be able to obtain one if they needed one. Instead, our biggest electric car company throws in bullshit self-driving shit, big screens and all sorts of special features that are completely unnecessary, but they have made it so that electric cars and all these stupid extra features that drive up the cost of it are now one and the same in the eyes of most Americans. And so they view, electric cars, baseline 40, 50K right off the bat, out of my budget.
Yeah. So I have one last question, if you don't mind. Have you heard of the tire extinguishers?
Tire extinguishers?
Yeah. Tire extinguishers.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
Tire extinguishers.
Tire extinguishers. No, I haven't. What is that?
Yeah. So they're an activist group from the UK that they're starting to spread around all across like Western nations. And what they essentially do is they just go to wealthy neighborhoods and they let the air out of wheels in SUVs, and they leave a note there saying basically you're a piece of shit for owning this and you need to get rid of it. And I want to know your opinion on that.
I mean, I'm all for personally, I don't think that's the best way to do it, but I also don't like to tone police activists in their direct action. So like I personally wouldn't advocate for that. But I also believe in again, maybe not that specific action, but I do believe in deploying multiple different direct actions. So there's a multitude of different ideas out there.
Yeah, so I just found out about something called tactical urbanism, which is a form of
diversity of tactics is the word I was looking for. Thank you. You actually made me think of it. Yep.
Well, so an example of that would be of like tactical urbanism would be like if your street doesn't have like a nice crosswalk, is you literally just go out there with paint and you paint yourself a fucking crosswalk. And like that works most of the time. See, people aren't even aware of thinking about that.
I think that's good because you're actually, you might get in trouble with like local municipality laws or whatever, but you're actually not hurting anybody. And in fact, you're providing a service to the community if they didn't have that. I think that's actually helpful. It makes everyone safer. Yeah. there's I could see there's probably I could see a situation where like there's some four-way driving corners that I've come across where there should really be a stop sign at the very least, if not actually a traffic light, and there's nothing there, and it's like that's dangerous. There should be you can't trust cars to determine like, oh, let's all be polite and that person got there first, so they go first and we let them go. We get the right. We can't do that. I've seen way too many cars roll through stop signs and almost hit people to know that like you need traffic lights on those corners. So I could see a situation where like a direct action would be erecting a stop sign on one of those corners,
Yeah, and so I just thought of this, and I think one of the big reasons why people don't want to take public transit, especially in America, is because it's pretty fucking scary. Like, it's like you have to dodge a lot. Like I've been personally assaulted, like quote unquote assaulted, I guess attempted assault. I've been fucked with, you could say, in the past 3 times in the past 2 months going on public transit, to the point where I've had to call 911 and they don't fucking answer in this city because the 911 calls are so backed up. And literally they don't answer in Portland. It takes up to 5 minutes and then they call you back and then they decide if it's urgent enough to come or not. So like shit like that is like, it just, people need to feel safe on public transit. You know what I mean? Right. And this goes back to like the Jordan Neely situation, which is like, yeah, that should have never even occurred in the first place. It's like pathetic we even got to that point, like to begin with, where like our public transit has become hospitals essentially. They become like hotels for hobos.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I mean, listen, and everyone who lives in New York City who uses public transit has come across homeless individuals or mentally ill people, and I can say that like yes, you hear about it in the news that every now and then there is some sort of issue where there's some sort of confrontation or attack.
Dude, it's every day. It's every day. At least in Portland, it's every fucking day. It's just not reported. It's every second. It's every hour on every bus. Someone is fucking like being harassed or something's happening. Like I've been on the bus stop and people are offering to suck someone's dick for drugs, for fentanyl. People are offering to fucking like, there's fucking disgusting shit that shouldn't be around when you're on public transit.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's like that here. I will say, I'm not too familiar with the West Coast, but
Portland is a shithole.
When I visited Los Angeles a couple of years ago, I will say that the homeless population there seemed to be dealing with different issues than the homeless population here. Whether that's changed since COVID. And I've heard that from other people that, there is actually a difference between the two populations, and, certain drugs are more popular in certain areas, which makes things different, for the drug users. And then you also have plenty of homeless people who are just homeless and don't want to, and aren't involved in all this stuff. And unfortunately they get a bad rap for what other people are doing. It's certainly a complicated situation, and the best way to deal with it is for the government to step in and help these people, provide them with services, provide them with a home. Again, it's going to cost money, but if people actually care about helping fix the issue, it's something that we need to do.
Yeah, so actually, like what the Sylvias did on this issue to solve homelessness, which is they pretty much got all the homeless people. And they got all the people who had houses, and they said, all right, you have an empty house. Now a homeless person lives there. And on top of that, they said, if you have an empty room in your house, then a homeless person has to move in with you. So essentially you can't have any empty rooms in your house, which I completely agree with. Because that's like, who the fuck needs like extra rooms in their house? It's just so like decadent.
I haven't heard anything about that. I have no idea about that.
Okay. Well.
Yeah. Thanks for the call though. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
Have a great night.
All right. Yeah. Bye.
I don't know if having an extra room in your house would be considered decadent, but literally lost everybody. And just lost everybody again. Someone's going with Skype. Hold on. Let me This should be good. All right. I think I fixed it. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, it's Mitchell from Utah.
Hey, Mitchell. How you doing? What would you like to talk about? Okay, I put you up on the feed.
So I wanted to just go over kind of two things.
Well, really quick, can I put you up on the feed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So what do you want to talk about?
So the first is I got around to watching your debate with a certain immigrant to a certain country over the weekend.
Oh, yeah?
And the thing that stuck out to me was his insistence that, he was saying there's this stereotype you're referencing, and that's what people are angry about. And I can't help but give people the benefit of the doubt always. So I was like, what if he's on like some little corner of Argentine Twitter that I just don't know about? And so I read through every single one of the comments and every single one of the quote tweets on your original tweet to see if there is any small corner where there's this very like specific conversation happening about this stereotype being referenced. And I'm sure you're not surprised to find that it wasn't.
Right.
No one was having that conversation.
Right. From what I was experiencing and what I saw, it seemed like a very specific type of Argentine person, pretty much right-wing sort of nationalist types. They all had the 3-star logo, the flag in their profile name and everything, which is not a usual aspect. Sure, people have put the flag in their bio, but when everyone has the same sort of thing, you sort of get a good idea. And then you look and they're retweeting right-wing stuff. It seemed pretty obvious to me, but I appreciate you also taking a look and you also coming to the same conclusion. Uh-oh, I just lost you. Your voice went out. Your voice just disappeared. Hello? No, you just cut out. Hold on. Let me see. It might be on my end. Hold on. Let me see what happened. Hello? Here, let me call you right back. I don't know what happened. Give me a second. Hello? Oh my God, your voice is just gone. I don't know what happened, man. Maybe your headphone mic died?
Hello?
Oh, there you go. Got unplugged.
So yeah, I got a little mute button here, and I guess I hit
okay.
out.
Okay. Oh, the light was out. Someone pointed out. Okay,
light.
right.
I
Okay.
didn't notice. Okay.
So, what I said was, I think we left off with me saying, it's good that you also looked and sort of saw the same thing. So it wasn't just my narrow-minded view of the situation.
Like, I mean, I would honestly, my expectations were really low because the whole flow of that conversation. I mean, you've characterized it well, that he wasn't arguing with you. He was arguing with like the idea of you he wanted to argue with.
Right.
So yeah, it was just.
And I was completely open to the idea that I was in the wrong.
Yeah.
And I am understanding of the situation if there was if I had seen sort of a good faith
right, yeah,
critique of it from someone. But like you said, it was all based in this very specific group of people who have this very specific ideology.
Well, yeah, it totally gained ground with those Argentine right wingers, whatever they are. And as I was going through, like, whenever I saw another comment from like a different South American, it was either people going, ha ha ha, Argentines showing up when no one called, or somebody, like, I saw one person from Brazil being like, oh yeah, like the Nazis in Brazil that you like don't talk about, Pablo from down the road or whatever.
Right. It was very weird that not only was like just one people from who said they were from one specific country were the only ones who had a problem with it. But everyone else not only didn't have a problem with it, but were completely fine and open with talking about the issues in their various different countries. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was very weird. It was very,
Yeah, so like going through and like getting that additional context of the conversation really just like honestly made him look so much worse in my eyes.
Right. I mean, I really wasn't familiar with him. I'm still not totally familiar with him, honestly. But
he's someone who I was kind of becoming aware of. Like, I've watched through some of his videos on like Argentine history, or like Spanish colonialism, because I mean they seemed really interesting and well sourced. Like he really does a good job. It seemed like to me of like digging into like historical facts and documents, and so I was really looking down to see his thinking process like in person.
Right, I this is years ago, but I heard good things about him. I don't know if he's taken a turn like so many others in recent years, where they all of a sudden seem to have fall down various rabbit holes. What I will say is after that experience, and I'm not even talking on a personal level, but the way he refused to bring up certain factual, historical facts, I would be cautious about consuming his content, knowing that he has no problem. Basically, I don't even think skirting around the issue is strong enough. Just basically deleting things from history. I don't know if I would trust a person who does that with providing me historical, content that provides quote unquote historical background and context. Like I would be cautious about that.
I'm kind of that's what I'm working through right now. Like this is still new and fresh to me. Whereas like, oh, this guy that maybe I'm starting to trust and like have some respect for, I'm now like, whoa, that was messed up.
Right. Now I don't know. Maybe his actual like researched recorded content is completely different from like maybe he wants to be a troll when he's just fucking around. I don't know.
There is some element of that. Like his personality in his videos, it's very straightforward. Like he's just like looking at the camera straight on, just like almost no inflection in his voice as he talks. Whereas, like on the stream, he keeps going for like these weird dunks and like making it personal in weird ways. Like that's not the style of his like thought out recorded content.
Right. So, I'm not telling anyone anything, honestly. If people still enjoy his content, please continue to do so. I was just saying what my viewpoint is. As someone who,
I think that's a totally fair view.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's totally fair.
I honestly don't have any strong feelings about him. I'm only discussing it when people call in and want to talk about it.
Right. Yeah.
I have this open. Yeah. So
I know how your show works, and I know I'm the one responsible for us talking about this right now.
Right.
That's my fault.
I'm open to talk about anything. You said there was a second thing you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so the second thing I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the implications of AI as they were brought up on the episode of Scan Economy tonight. Because like so the whole idea of this world coin they're saying is that we need some kind of income once work isn't happening because of AI, right? Like that's their argument, right? Like why we need to establish this. And like, I mean, I guess to me that highlights the problem, it seems to me, with this whole like AI and like machine learning conversation, is that like this is all happening in the context of capitalism and private property and like profits for corporations. Because it seems to me that if we had a system where, people weren't able to profit off the labor of others, and, AI couldn't be putting you out of a job because, like, if an AI or a robot or whatever, if automation can do your job, that's an improvement of your working and living conditions. And so, of course, you want that. And so, like, it's so weird to see this like idea of like, oh yeah, like automation is coming for people's jobs is bad, but like we don't actually we're not trying to do something that would change the system that makes that bad. We're just gonna like slap this little band-aid on it while we make some money.
All right, and the people, yeah, right, of course, the people who are most pushing this idea of like the AI, the danger of AI, be careful, it's coming and it's coming for your job. They're also the very rich like tech VCs who don't want to provide any sort of they're right wingers who don't want to provide any sort of social safety net programs or welfare, none of it.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like that's just because I guess because I kind of agree with them that it's like these things are coming and like we're inevitably going to see AI or machine learning proliferate throughout all avenues of the economy and like change the way that work is done, like that, just like we saw that with, automation throughout the 20th century. And like, rather than being like all doomer about it, like, oh, it's going to like destroy jobs and like render havoc on the economy. Like why don't we arrange the economy to accommodate that so that people's lives are actually helped instead of harmed by these technologies being rolled out?
All right.
Like it seems like a pretty like self-evident thing to me, that whenever you see reporting in mainstream spaces on AI and stuff, like that's just not the conversation happening. It's like, oh, how AI is killing jobs or like doing whatever.
Right. I mean, it's what we're seeing is a lot of hype around it too. Like a lot of there is concern about certain aspects of what AI will do to certain jobs, but this idea of AI getting the nuclear code or something like that, it's just this bullshit.
Oh yeah, bullshit. Right, yeah.
And it's just their way of perpetuating the hype around AI in order to make it worth more money, honestly, to make the industry stronger in their, and it's their industry. They're the ones benefiting from it.
So I get why like VCs and like the corporate types like wrapped up in that are buying into that hype, but like why do you think so much media is just like really uncritical of that?
Because the media world is still under the idea that, ooh, this is technology, we don't understand it. Oh, we're not, the tech people are so smart. They're the geniuses coding and they're developing this stuff. They know it better than us. We don't know anything about it. Oh, they're this same bullshit that hoisted up people like Elon Musk for generations now. The tech industry has been around for many, many decades now.
Right.
And it's just bullshit. It's bullshit. These people are not smarter than you or me. They are not. They might excel in being able to understand and write code. Not Elon Musk, by the way. He doesn't know code. But that's it. They're not these evil geniuses people think they are, because they're not that smart. They're not that smart. Most of them actually have a very narrow, and I'm not saying I'm smarter either. I'm not saying that, just to make that clear. I no one should look at me and think like I'm any sort of special genius. I'm just saying don't do that to them either, because they're not, just like I'm not. They might excel and have a specialty in some very narrow lane, like a specific coding language or something. They might be very good at, the specific person or whatever, but they're not these like heroic, brilliant figures that the media still, legacy media more so, props them up to be. It's very weird. You saw this when 60 Minutes did this recent interview with Google CEO about their Bard AI, and how the Google CEO was like, oh, it started speaking a language that we didn't teach it. Isn't that crazy? And 60 Minutes like, oh my God, how did that happen? Oh, well, if they actually did some research and didn't just say, they don't even have to be smart to do the research. They're a major television program. They could hire someone who specializes in that area to do the research.
Hire 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, but someone who saw the episode, who specializes in language models, looked it up and discovered that Bard was actually taught a data set that included that language.
Right.
It was trained on a data set that had that language as part of it. But 60 Minutes just thought, oh, Google CEO is the Google CEO. What do we know? No, they're not better than you. They're not smarter than you. And even if they know a specific lane better than you, remember that specific lane they know better than you is probably where their bread gets buttered, so they're going to hype it up and at the very least exaggerate.
And I guess that kind of that veneration leads into, because they're saying like the AI is smart enough to learn languages, the AI is smart enough to do this thing, and that leads into the reporting of like you can use the AI as like your search machine. You can use your AI to do whatever thing, but it's like the AIs aren't fact finders. There's no way for them to evaluate the usefulness or truth of knowledge.
Right.
They're just really, really fancy autocompletes. Like, you take your smartphone and you just you see the Twitter prompts like, let the middle one of your autocomplete finish the sentence or whatever.
Right.
Like,
the point of modern AI is to, like, I think you put it great, but the main thing is to provide the user what they asked for in the prompt. That's it. And if that user is asking you to lie, then that's what the AI is going to give them. And even if the user isn't asking specifically for the AI to lie, the AI is just going to pull information from the best of its abilities without care of whether it is correct or not.
Well,
the point is to make it sound as human as possible. It doesn't necessarily mean what it's saying is true.
Right. Well, and I've seen things from people who are like, they're trying to get it to say a true thing. And so they're like, hey, could you tell me about the Battle of the Bulge and provide references? And then it just makes up some fictional World War II book that it just references from nowhere.
Right.
Or some fake article from a real news outlet.
I've seen someone ask an AI for a source to something it said, and the AI gave them a link, and the link didn't exist. The AI actually manufactured the link as well. It just was bullshit. It wasn't. It was something that never existed.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was saying when it makes stuff up. It's not referencing fake things that people have put out in biased ways or disinformation campaigns. It's literally just inventing out of whole cloth, using autocomplete, something that sounds right to convince someone that it's actually doing work that it's not. And I guess because that's the work that the tech execs are all saying it's doing, right? They're all saying it's learning and it knows things. They're not saying it just is really good at knowing what words follow each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the call. Was there anything else?
You're welcome. Nope. That was
cool.
that.
Always
the
a pleasure.
And the AI.
Always a pleasure to talk with you. Have a great night.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
I will take. I really want Nicholas, who's in the chat, who's been apparently causing some trouble. I like him to call in. I love talking to people who who want to challenge me. That's what I love talking to. Who I love talking to more than anything. I'll take 1 or 2 more calls. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Matt. It's Anne from the UK.
Hey, Anne from the UK. How you doing? What would you like to talk about?
Oh, I'm fine. I was calling in for a reason that has.
Oh, you're a little bit muffled.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm using my phone because Windows is horrible and decided not to let me use my microphone. What was I going to say? There was something I was going to say. It's just escaped my memory. I can rant about UK stuff that I can't remember.
It's all good. I want to thank you again for the art. I'm gonna. Oh, and you calling in actually reminded me. I remember there were people who sent me Twitch / YouTube emojis, whatever you want to call them, prior to the ones you sent me, and I wanted to, and I was looking for some of them, and I found I have yours. I remember listener Abby Normal sent me hers, and I have those. But I feel like there are a few other people who sent me artwork for that stuff, even before that, and I can't find it. So a call to anyone who ever sent me anything like that, send it to me again. I'm going to actually finally get it set up because I have a bunch now, so it makes sense to actually do it. I'm going to get it on YouTube. I'm going to get it on Twitch so people can actually use them.
Nice.
There you go.
Apparently
So what do you
I
want to talk?
sound like someone's mum.
I thought I'd that was a good opportunity for you to remember what you wanted to talk about too.
It was something about tech, but for some reason my memory just seems to have gone on it. But I can definitely rant about a few weird UK news stories. Basically our previous Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he's being investigated again for a COVID breach thing somehow, ages after he's already been kicked. The Home Secretary is being investigated for a load of ministerial code breaches, which I feel like that's not something that's brought up enough in American politics, of like politicians being held to actual like code standards in strict ways, because like she's getting in trouble for trying to get out of a speeding ticket effectively, which is kind of impressive as a petty reason to go. Though it's also been dug up that the lady who has been pushing for sending asylum seekers to Rwanda seems to have a lot of ties to Rwanda that she hasn't previously declared for some mysterious reason. Someone mentioning Liz Truss. Liz Truss barely should get mentioned. She's like a blip on. Oh, that was something I was going to mention. Someone mentioned leftist mafia. Lance managing to distract Tim Pool for like a solid week by bringing up the gay men aren't attracted to trans women thing.
Yeah, that's
hilarious.
That still is amazing to me how obsessed he was with that.
Like this full week.
I mean, personally, it's so silly because I mean, not silly for Lance, but silly for him to obsess over it because who cares? Like, like Lance is a really good point. It was a really good point of Lance to bring up. Like, at the very least, regardless of what you believe, whether you take the right wing position or not, the end result is who cares, because you would be attracted to them regardless with how you want to define it, you know?
As a bi woman, I'm very much that you should be like, if you're attracted to someone, what does it objectively matter what their sex or gender is? You're clearly attracted to them. There's probably something going for you there.
Right.
It just seems absurd to me that people just draw these arbitrary barriers of I can't possibly be attracted to this person because there's some aspect of their person that means that I wouldn't enjoy that relationship, which if you're always going in with that mindset, you're probably preventing yourself exploring that side of yourself, which might exist, and you might just be being internalized sort of homophobia about. But yeah, someone is saying, yeah, thank you for jogging my memory, random person who mentioned leftist.
I gotta say, your talent for being able to read the chat while also having a conversation is amazing. I can't do that. I completely stop and have to read it. And like you're just able to just like,
because I'm on my phone.
you're just like super like slickly like just like like bringing the chat into your conversation in an almost like perfect, like nonstop flowing. It's just a perfect flow. I can't do that.
Just linking in with your like people who are educated in tech aren't necessarily smart people. We are smart at one thing. We can look at two screens and use them.
There you go.
It's the one skill you learn as someone who's into tech. Yeah, definitely. Just because you know how to code doesn't mean anyone's significantly more intelligent than anyone else. It just means that you understand how a computer's logic works to a tiny degree. And even then, you might vastly overestimate your own abilities like Elon Musk does frequently. But also, Labour in the UK is being a tiny bit better in that it's now claiming that NHS is like should be just deemed a fundamental aspect of culture and shouldn't be something we're debating about the funding of as much, which sounds positive, but it also sounds like it links in with the whole not wanting to increase the funding of the NHS thing that Keir Starmer is being an ass about. I really don't like Keir Starmer. I want someone else to be in charge of Labour, but I'm sure there's probably worse people.
He's pretty bad. He's pretty bad.
He is by far my least favourite Labour leader since I've paid attention to politics, which, to be completely fair, I'm only in my 20s, so that's only like 10 years, most of which has been Tories, so pretty much any Labour leader is immediately preferable to the actual government during that entire period of my life.
There's always Tony Blair. I mean, I guess, yeah. It doesn't get worse than that. Doesn't get worse than that. Well, I mean, I feel like, what's his face? Steimer, that's how you say his name, right?
The current one?
Yes.
I literally said his name 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know. I see his name and I read it in my head, and then when I say it out loud, it always feels like I'm saying...
Starmer.
Right.
Yeah, Starmer.
Okay, right.
That's it.
I feel like if given the opportunity, he could be on Tony Blair's level. He just doesn't have the world events lined up for him to be that bad.
Literally, his whole thing was he claims he was trying to be Corbyn without the like over-the-top lefty aspect, trying to make it more marketable. And since he's been in charge, he has basically backtracked on pretty much every single promise he made when getting into position of power in the Labour Party, and that's kind of depressing. I would love to be able to vote Greens, but Greens don't get that many seats. They did manage to win one council in the local elections recently, which was nice, but they are not enough of a force to be reckoned with compared to Labour or the Lib Dems, and either the Labour or Lib Dems are significantly preferable than Tories for another 4 years, because they have been driving this country fully into the dirt in every respect, and then just doing things like reducing NHS funding and then pretending that the NHS failing as a result of the NHS being an unworkable idea, rather than the fact that they just haven't funded it for a very long time, even though the majority of the British public wants it. And I know that I ramble about the NHS pretty much every time I call, because the NHS is a very good thing, and I'm very glad that the UK has it, and pretty much all my family very much would probably be dead or various other things if we didn't have the NHS, because various reasons. But it's just horrific how much it's just a political pawn of a asset to play around with and pretend that it's not like life or death for some people if you defund that institution. Like the BBC, I can get them not wanting to fund to a degree.
Right.
I liked the BBC a lot growing up. Most of the content I enjoyed as a kid growing up was BBC.
I tend to think that most things should be nationalized in terms of.
I am very much on the ownership route But I will admit that journalism, especially, there should definitely be private outlets.
Yes, I was gonna say the exception is when it comes to media, because you don't want, obviously, the government to have control over what should essentially be reporting on them. But in the same way, though, it needs to, you also need your private journalistic outlet to also uphold those, journalistic beliefs and not be controlled by a private corporation that seeks to also, provide cover for themselves or industries that pay them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tricky thing. I think, unfortunately, I think a lot of media gets it wrong, which is sad.
Well, while we're talking private journalism, of course, the chat can fund private journalism by giving some money to our nice streamer host here via Twitch subscriptions and YouTube super chats and things like that. If people want to subscribe to Matt Binder and his nice tech and various other journalism, just wanted to get that in there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I did a bad job today, so good to know that someone on this show is paying attention to that.
But yeah, the BBC, I know they're media in terms of news, but they also produce a lot of the UK's biggest TV shows and things, and radio shows, because I was a weirdo who listened to radio programs.
Hey, I do radio. I've done BBC radio before, so no complaints there in terms of you listening to it. I think the healthiest way to look at media, though, is to know which individuals do good work, because I don't tend to like to say, oh, this outlet is all bad. I mean, there are outlets that are all bad, but for the outlets that do, there are outlets that do suck, but also employ some very good journalists, and their work always tends to be top notch, even if maybe the outlet or network as a whole isn't. And so I think it's important for people to know, whose work you can trust and know that it's good and it's legit, and just follow what those people put out there, regardless of what outlet they put it out there for.
The one thing I will definitely give as an example why things like the BBC should exist was during COVID, having a public broadcaster to give actual scientific advice direct from scientific advisors is amazingly useful, to not have to have filtered through weird opinion piece stuff. When I get that obviously it's useful to have that as well, potentially, if your government is not the most reliable government, but particularly in a national health crisis, having current updates and laws and stuff explained on a public platform that it's definitely from them, and not having to get it via third parties, is kind of a very useful demonstration of why something like the BBC is useful. Obviously, still having rival networks is a very useful thing. Unfortunately, most of our rival ones aren't that huge in the UK, other than maybe ITV, because basically our networks in the UK are BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, and then there's some fringy ones like Sky, which used to be owned by Murdoch for a bit, Talk TV, which is basically the UK's Fox, and GB News, which was trying to be the UK's Fox, but then was getting less viewership than Welsh dubs of Paw Patrol. So, which makes me immensely happy that not that many people are watching GB News, because it looks like an absolutely trash outlet. I have not seen anything particularly useful from that as an outlet, and the funniest thing is seeing a modern news channel with desks covered in paper that they're struggling to find what they're trying to talk about. Doesn't feel like the most professional of operation. I think they were also being investigated by the regulators in the UK over the fact that they kept having politicians hosting shows, which they're not supposed to do in the UK. like uncritically or something. We have like some actual vague standards around what politicians are and aren't allowed to do in the UK. That occasionally surprises me that the US doesn't seem to have as stricter policies on what people are and aren't allowed to do while in office. In the US, I'm sure there are, but it definitely seems like the UK is more restrictive about a lot of stuff. Also, I am aware that the BBC is a biased source, Newry Yank. I obviously things on Ireland, BBC is going to be terrible. Things like I have previously talked about the fact that the UK is BBC had a load of anti-trans articles around the time Scotland was making it easier for trans people to legally transition. So I do think that the BBC has some big issues when it comes to bias, especially when they're claimed to be unbiased and have specific protection guidelines for things like anti-racism, but don't so much for anti-LGBT stuff. And like one of the former directors actively said that they would happily have flat earthers on the thing if it was a bigger public debate. And it's like, that's not really it kind of is unbiased, but it's like unbiased in a way that's not helpful to the public that you're meant to be serving, which is the whole point of a public service broadcaster, in my opinion. And also by radio shows, I didn't mean informative ones. I literally used to listen to like comedy programs.
Oh, you're breaking up now. Oh, there's something wrong with the connection.
Okay, sorry, my experience has been terrible because Virgin Media is horrible.
No, it's all
Anyway.
good. It was a great call. I always enjoy when you call in and provide me with the latest news on what's going on in the UK, because I'm sadly, divorced from what's going on there right now. I've not been as on top of it as I can. Only so much that could fit in my tiny brain.
I do think it's mildly interesting to look at our policing situation and current government recently and asylum stuff, just on the topics of like anti-fascism type stuff, because our government is very pushing anti-immigrant stuff to the point where a BBC sports journalist compared rhetoric issued by the government to Nazi rhetoric about Jewish people, which is depressingly not that far off accurate considering we're referring to asylum seekers as like swarms and various other dehumanizing as hell language, which is horrific. And it also worries me that the UK, our political pundits are people who advertise packs of crisps and host football shows. But anyway, technically he's not a political pundit, but he got told to like briefly stand down from the BBC as a result of mentioning the like horrific rhetoric from Tory politicians. But it just, yeah, UK is weird. Anyway,
right.
Have a nice night. Sorry
you
for
too.
rambling.
Always a pleasure. Have a great night. All right, folks. That's we went long, which I usually don't have a problem with, but I'm feeling it. It's midnight here. I'm feeling tired. Let me read some super chats. Infinite content. Binder, why are Dole's followers hating on Ole? LOL. Oh, that was earlier with the Illuminati conversation. Right. Stephen Miller, it's funny. Stephen Miller with a super chat, a bit late, but great interview like always. Really goes to show that AI loses a lot of its magic when you realize that magic is just exploitation. Right. Stephen K with a super chat. Who are getting worked over in this paradigm? Paradigm, right. I don't know what you're referencing though. Ugh. Wanda with a super chat. Thank you for having patience and kindness towards your callers. Sometimes they may just need a friendly voice. That's why your channel is my favorite. Oh, thank you, Wanda. Yeah, I tried because, I think it's worth seeing where the conversation could go. Even if someone's calling in a little bit, upset or angry or hostile. It happens. It happens to everybody. Everyone's got a bad day. Nick Maurer with a super chat. $25 super chat. Jeez, thank you, Nick. Hey, Matt, just sending this to say thanks and that I always look forward to your weekly shows and Leftist Mafia, of course. Keep it up, dog. Oh, why, thank you, Nick. I really appreciate that. While I read the Twitch chats, don't forget you can still drop a super chat over on YouTube, and I'll get to it before we jump. Now let me read it on Twitch, which, by the way, twitch.tv/MattBinder. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, connect your account and drop me that Twitch Prime subscription if you'd like. Nug Wrangler resubscribed with Prime over on Twitch. Subscriber for 15 months. Jeez, thank you. Amused Mob resubscribed with Prime. Subscriber for 11 months. Ice Picker 82 subscribed for 3 months at Tier 1. Ooh, getting that advanced subscription. Thank you so much. Brackish Boy, subscriber Prime. Thank you. New subscriber. I love it. Oh, and I forgot to shout. Did I shout out? Let me just make sure. No, I did shout them out. Dylan Burns and Ravana gave me the raid last week. Thank you so much, you two. Omega with a super chat. Hi, Matt. What did you think of what I DM'd you? I don't remember. I will get back to you via DM. Okay? I'll have to take another look. Let me patreon.com/MattBinder. Let me thank the patrons who've joined since last week's episode. Secret Asian Dan, Philippe from Paris, Nate B, and Peace Seeker. Thank you all so much for becoming patrons. Really appreciate the support. And if you can, go to patreon.com/MattBinder and become a Patreon today. Let's go now to where is this? Oh, there was a super chat on the episode. Give me one quick second. I don't want to leave anyone who dropped a super chat hanging while I'm looking for it. Who should I raid over on Twitch? By the way, don't forget, Majority Report on Thursday, Leftist Mafia on Thursday. I just realized I never even got to talk about Ron DeSantis. He's going to announce his presidential campaign officially, launching tomorrow on a Twitter space with Elon Musk and David Sachs. I'll have to change the title of this because we didn't really talk about it, but trust me, we will talk about it on a future episode. Spin me a sailcloth with a super chat. People, your eyes are even more unique than your fingerprints and will likely be one of the most used biosecurity tech in less than 5 years. Yeah. Yep. Which you should be careful who you give that information to. I haven't rated Riverboat Jack in a while. That's a good recommend. I will raid Riverboat Jack because it's been a while. And I like to spread the love around and make sure. Oh, they're not on right now. It says I'll be right back. All right, so who should I raid then? Who should I raid? Riverboat Jack's not on right now. Riverboat Jack is technically streaming, but they're not on the stream. I see a lot of people recommending USA Hole. Let's do USA Hole again. I raid USA Hole a lot, though. Nothing wrong with that. I just like to try to, pass it along, pass it around. I rated Not Even a Show last week, which was great, but I want to try to do someone different today, and then I'll always go back to, I could easily go back to USA Hole. All right, I mean to Not Even a Show. Let's do let's do USA Hole today. All right, raid is starting. All right, everyone, have a great night, and I will see you all real soon on Thursday for sure. Take care. Peace. Have a great night.